Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. In this video we will see how to turn this into this and this into this. And this will happen in bricks with the new Structeezy version 1.2, your best ally to create your page structure. So we are in bricks. I'm using the latest version at the time of recording this video. It's version 1.9.5 of bricks. I have Structeezy version 1.2. I released it a few days ago. And let's open Structeezy, and you will probably notice a few cosmetic adjustments. The drag handle is on the top with a much better behavior now. The buttons to open, close the modal, there's a new one, you can dock it. I did configure my shortcut to be Alt plus Z. So it's easy when you need it out of the way, and you can have it back with the shortcut or by clicking on the window. The first thing we notice is this big code editor, and the other big improvement in this version is in the SVG tab with the Iconify component we will discuss also. So maybe start with this one. With this update, Structeezy integrates with the Iconify API. So if you don't know Iconify, it is an open source project that created a huge library of more than 160 icon sets for a total of more than 200,000 icons to make them easily available for developers. I integrated with Iconify API to give you access to this huge library of more than 200,000 icons directly in your Bricks editor. And to do so, you will use this component, and you will see it's very easy. We have two search fields, one for the icon set, one for the icon. So by default, the icon set selected is Iconoir. You can choose from the plugin dashboard the default icon set you want to use first when opening your panel. If I click on it, you can see that I can choose from 165 icon sets at the time of recording this video. The first one are appearing here, and I can type to search. For example, if I want hero icon, if I'm not mistaken, hero icon is the icon set developed by the developers of Tailwind. Well, I can select it. There's 1,176 icons in the hero icon set. When I select a set, the first icon in the set is automatically selected, and a preview of this icon is visible. I can click on it. I have 176 icons to choose from, and I can search. Don't know if I want a cog, for example. Here it is. And when you select it, Structeezy fetches the icon from the Iconify API, and when it's ready to use, it's visible here. So for performance reasons, I did not integrate a visual search. So when you search, you have the name of the icon. You cannot see the icons. But if you are not familiar with a library, well, for now, the selected library is hero icon. You have this link, and this link will take you to a showcase of the icons in the currently selected library. So with hero icon selected as the icon set, if I click the browse icons, this will open the iconjs.org website with the hero icon library selected, and I can choose to load all of them, and you can view all of the available icons. You can search all the other libraries if you want. So it's very handy. I did not implement it inside of Structeezy because you don't want to have it in your Bricks editor. But this site is very useful when you search a specific icon with an efficient search engine. Okay, back to Bricks. So now that I've selected an icon, there are two ways I can use it. The icon preview itself is a button. I can click on it, and we have this parse button, and I can also click on it. So let's start by clicking on the icon preview itself. And when I click on the icon, it's visible on my canvas here. And Structeezy did create a code element in your structure tree, and this code element is a bricks code element, and it was populated with the SVG code that Structeezy fetched from the API. So that's maybe the most simple way to use it when you want an icon, I don't know, for illustration somewhere or to use as bullet points. Maybe that's the way you will use it. It's not the topic for this video, but there are advanced ways to use it. For example, if you repeat the same icon several times on your page. You don't want to insert the code each time. You want to insert it once and then use reference to this initial icons. These are all things you can achieve with the SVG element in Structeezy. But you understand the principle. With this Iconify element, you save a lot of time because you have everything inside of your bricks edit. Okay, let's get rid of this one. And the other way to insert the icon is to click the parse icon. And when clicking the parse icon, so this one is quite a simple icon, but what Structeezy does is that it converts the SVG code into bricks elements that represent the SVG structure. So this SVG is a simple one. There's an SVG root element, and inside of it, there is a path element. Let's enlarge it so you can see it. And you can see that one of the benefits of inserting it inside of the structure tree is that you can work on your SVG elements as you would on any element in your structure tree by using the bricks user interface to adjust several properties of your SVG. And just to show you what it can look like, let's get rid of this one and let's pick a more complex one. I will get the fluent emoji icon set, and because my daughter loves it, I will pick the unicorn. You see it's a bit longer this time. Let's enlarge it and let's give it 100%. An height of auto, and we have this nice SVG unicorn, and you can see that this one is quite a more complex SVG with a lot of elements, path for sure, but also gradient, filters, etc. You may wonder when to use one or the other, because this is huge compared to what we could achieve by simply clicking this one and inserting the code. Well, the answer is simple. It depends on what you want to do. If you just want to get the SVG and use it as it is inside of your design, inserting a code element is perfect. But if you want more control on it, if you want to modify parts of it, if you want to reuse or refactor parts of it, or if you want, because this is possible, to use bricks dynamic data inside of your SVG, well, parsing it and having the whole SVG structure would be the solution. So let's get rid of this one. And now let's have a look at what is behind this parse button. And that's the new parser feature in Structeezy that you can access here. And actually, when I am in the Iconify element and that I click on this button and not this one, because this is the code element, but on the parse button, it's exactly the same as if I came in the parser, paste my SVG code and ask Structeezy to parse. It then creates a structure from my SVG. So that's the good news. Now in Structeezy, we have this parser. You know that Structeezy is all about giving you productivity tools to work in your structure tree. And thanks to this code editor, because this is a small code editor, you will be able to quickly insert structures. So how do you do that? Well, that's simple. Imagine that I want to insert a section element. I want to insert a section. We see that we have auto suggestion. Perfect. I want a section. Inside of my section, I want a div. And inside of my div, I want an h1. This is my heading. And then I want a paragraph. This is my paragraph. And then I can click on parse and inject. And I get, reduce this one, I get my structure with a section, a div, an h1, and a paragraph. So what happened here is that Structeezy did convert your raw HTML code into bricks elements. But what's interesting is that you can insert elements with any class or attribute that you can find on an HTML element. For example, my section can have an ID of my section can have a class, and I use whatever you want. It can be your custom class, it can be a class from a CSS framework you are using, whether you are using Bootstrap, OxyProps, or anything else. So let's say that I want a class of my class, and I want it to have a data attribute of my attribute. Okay, I know these are not very original names, that just to demonstrate the feature. So let's get rid of this. And now with this code, okay, as I did add classes, I will toggle the strip classes toggle. I'll come back to this one in a few seconds, and I click parse. And now if I look at my section was inserted, but it also has an ID of my section, a class of my class. The class was registered as a bricks class. And it also has, if we go and check my attributes, a data attribute of my attribute. Structeezy did take the code we had in our Structeezy parser and convert it into bricks elements and populated the ID, the classes, and the attributes. So let's come back to this strip classes toggle. And by the way, in the Structeezy dashboard, in your WordPress admin, you can define if you want it to be on or off by default when opening the panel. You can always switch it on case by case for inserting your classes, but you can decide if it's off by default or on by default. The difference is that if you choose to strip the classes, Structeezy will not register the classes found on the elements in the HTML code as bricks global classes. Why? Because one of the benefits of this feature is that you can browse the internet, find websites with a section or a card or any element component that you like. You can copy the source code, you can paste it in Structeezy parser, and you will get the corresponding structure. It doesn't work 100% of the time because a parser is not perfect, but you will get a very good outline to start with. But if you picked a code from the internet, you may not want to register all classes from this source code, especially if it's not a control source. You don't want to register all the classes in bricks and bloat your database. So if this is the case and that you are copying, pasting big amounts of code from somewhere else on the web, you may wish to get rid of the classes and get only the HTML structure. So that's up to you. Okay, so now that we have seen what's possible, there's an additional feature, and this additional feature, I like it. I use it every day in VS Code, and those of you that are used to code editors probably like it. The Structeezy code editor integrates with Emmet. So if you don't know Emmet, Emmet is a set of tools that allow us to write code snippets that will expand into an HTML structure. So a very basic one, I just write section, press tab, and I get a section element. If I want my section to have a class on it, I will write section, and you know that the CSS selector for a class is a dot. So dot my dash class, and then I press tab, and this expands into an element with my class, a my class class. If I want to give it an ID, it is a section. You know that the CSS selector for the ID is the hash symbol. My ID, press tab, and I get a section with an ID. You get the ID. So I can have a section with an ID of my ID and a class of my class. pressing tab, and this expands my structure. It's also possible to add operators. So if I come back to the section I did create earlier, I had a section with a class of my class. Let's forget the ID for now. Inside of this section, so this is a greater than character, and if you made a comparison with CSS, this represents a child. So inside of my child, I had a div with a class of my other class, and inside of my div, I add an h1 with a content, and to get a content, these are curly brackets, my heading, and this heading had a sibling. A sibling is an element which is at the same hierarchical level. So for this, we use a plus sign, same as the CSS selector, and this was a paragraph, curly brackets, to add a content of my paragraph. And if I extend this snippet by pressing tab, I get the corresponding HTML structure, and now I can, let's get rid of this one, parse and inject it, and I get my section with my div, my heading, and my paragraph. So I hope you start to imagine how this can help you save time and very quickly create your page skeletons with all the elements you need, so you can start styling them. And to finish and to give you an idea of what can be done with the Structeezy parser, we just seen that we can add a CSS class to our elements, but of course for now our class are just empty shells. We have created a class name, we have registered it as a global class, but there's nothing inside of it. An HTML parser is not a CSS parser. But if you use the parser with a CSS framework, and that your HTML elements carry classes names that are defined in your CSS framework, of course, you will not only get the HTML structure, but you will also get the design brought by the CSS. So to demonstrate this, with no debate, because I know CSS frameworks can be an interesting debate for bricks, I won't use my own framework or another bricks CSS framework, but I'll show you what can be done with something we are not used to talk about in bricks, but let's give a try to Bootstrap. And don't shout at me, I'm not telling that you should use Bootstrap with bricks. I just want to show you what can be done. So let's open Bootstrap, and to use Bootstrap, we will need the Bootstrap source files. So we will use the content delivery network. So you can find this on the Bootstrap documentation site. CDN, you need to copy those two lines, importing CSS and a bit of JavaScript, copy to clipboard. And back to our structure, let's simply add a code element, and inside of this code element, we will paste those two lines and execute code, and we will render without wrapper. If we were in production and actually wanted to use Bootstrap, that's maybe not the way we would set things up, but for the demonstration purpose, this will be perfectly correct. So now, in Bootstrap, we can browse the examples, and to start with, maybe I want a navbar, I want an off-canvas navbar, and I will pick the dark one. So I will right-click to inspect my element, make sure I pick my nav elements, copy the element, back to bricks. Let's paste the element in the parser, make sure we have the strip classes off because we need the CSS classes from Bootstrap, inject, and we get our off-canvas navbar. So it's a bit small, and this is because by default Bricks forces us 62.5% font size. This is not something I like, and obviously Bootstrap don't like it either because it results in small fonts. And unfortunately, there are no settings in Bricks settings to get it back to 100%. So we have to create a theme styles only for that. Let's call it Bootstrap, create, and give a 100% typography. And now it's back to what it should look like. Okay, let's continue. We have a navigation. Maybe we want a hero section. Here we are with the heroes. Let's pick this one, for example. Inspect. Make sure I grab the whole section. That's this container level. Copy the element. And back in Bricks, I probably should add in the next version a button somewhere to clear the editor, but for now I need to paste over it. Inject, and I have my section. The image is not there, but that's probably because it is a local URL on the website. So if we want it, we can copy the image address and replace it here. And we have our hero section. Perfect. And maybe add a next one. I think this one will be interesting. So let's imagine we want this design. I want to inspect it. I will pick copy the element. And once again, I will make sure I have nothing selected, so it's inserted at the root of my structure tree. Paste, parse and inject. And let's save. And have a look at our front end. So this is the design we created. Actually, we didn't create it. We did import it in Bricks with just a few clicks. We have the header, the off-canvas header, and it's working perfectly with the drop-downs. Our hero section and our product showcase section. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will find many creative ways to use these new features in Structeezy to save a lot of time in your workflow. It was really made to help you save time and have your structures and your page skeleton ready as fast as possible so you can start designing for your clients. I wish you the best and I'll see you in the next video.